everybody. This is Stuart Broadley from the EIC, and welcome to another EIC Energy Focus podcast. And I'm here with Sabrina Cheng, who is the founder and CEO of IntelliS. A little bit about IntelliS. So I'm here in Shanghai, which is the headquarters of IntelliS, but it actually operates across many parts of China and in many offices also around the world. So a successful, fast-growing business. I think it would describe itself as a leading engineering, technical and consulting business, a talent solutions provider focused basically on energy, particularly offshore, subsea, deep water, FPSO, FLNG, petrochemical, but also renewable energy and clean room services. And as you'll come to hear as I start our discussion here with Sabrina, ultimately this is a relationship business. And Sabrina is a passionate, ambitious, strong, but also a very human leader that connects China to other countries and leaders around the world in a way that I don't often see. So it's been our privilege to work with IntelliS and Sabrina over the last few years. So, hi Sabrina, nice to see you.
Welcome to Shanghai.
How did you get into this business? So here you are now, very successful woman leader in energy in China, growing around the world. But in the end, that's a very difficult thing to achieve anywhere in the world, maybe also in China. So how did it start for you?
Actually, I think I'm a very lucky woman. I'm very lucky to have two business partners. They are from technical background. They are a project manager.
These were Dutch?
Dutch, yes.
Yeah. How did you meet them?
They're friends of my parents as well. Okay. So they want to start project management and a technical consulting company in China. They want to find a solid, trustable business partner to run the business because they are working for the technical background. But, for business, they need operation, they need a legal representative, and they don't understanding China's language and also the market. So we three started the business together.
Before that, what were you doing?
Before that, I working a very, very short time in my parents' friends' factory. And my parents, they also have their own business as well. So I didn't have actually too much experience working for other people.
I'm fascinated in how people's journeys start, So here you are now. We'll definitely come later to talk about what you do today. But how did it start? Why did they talk to you? Why did you say yes if you didn't have that experience? Was it something that maybe your parents said to you, you should do this? Or, why did you do it?
I mean, China is a very big country. But if you see the private economy, you need to go back to Zhejiang. Zhejiang is the best active province for private business, like Jack Ma, Alibaba, DeepSeek AI, and all the high-tech manufacturers come from Zhejiang. I was born there. So when I was already a very young little girl, I see business people around me. They are fighting, working around, and create the business.
It was in your genes somehow. You just like, everybody around me is successful and developing businesses and doing amazing things. And this was just somehow you wanted to be part of that.
Very true. So when I was already very young, I'm very confident. Actually, so I think it's a good opportunity to enter into this business or market. From my point of view is that the energy industry, it lasts very long and the market volume is very big. And if, technical engineers or solution for clients has great values to bring them successful for their projects. So if you combine all the elements, it will be a very good business. So I do have no experience, know nothing about the technical, but I can learn from the zero to run the business from operation side. I build up my know-how to learn from others, and after my university, I also go on for 2 MBA degree to learn the management, to run, how to run the business.
And you have a second master's in economics.
Yes.
And this was again from Zhejiang. Is that how you pronounce it?
Zhejiang University.
Zhejiang University, which is this province that you're in here. So very ambitious, confident, and an opportunity comes from your two friends. What happened next? How did that turn into a business and then ultimately then turned into your own business?
We three started the business, but anyhow, sometimes everyone has different vision and goals for and work and the personal life. So two of my friends, they decided to leave the country for their personal issues or reasons. So they go back to their hometown. So we decided to break up. So I needed to start and take over all the responsibility because I don't want to working for other people anymore. I run the business successfully for 3 of us. Later, when I started IntelliS, it means Intelligence Sabrina.
Is that what IntelliS stands for? Intelligent Sabrina.
Yes.
Fantastic. I love it. Okay, it's always good to know why company names came about. That's brilliant. I love it.
A lot of my local clients, when they see our branding, they think it's an international company. And when they see me, I'm quite international as well and very open-minded. So they kind of like my branding.
Okay, brilliant. So then you took over the business yourself. So here we are today. Tell me about the size and the scope of the business today.
To be honest, our revenue are not so top in the China region. In the past few years, it's around $10 to $15 million. But in 2018, I already set up my Singapore office. But due to the COVID and the long strategy, I didn't run it so well. So since 2 years ago, I started marketing again to go outside. So the first, after a comprehensive decision, I decided to use Malaysia to be my first priority place to expanding for global business. So far, I have 1 office in Malaysia, 1 office in Singapore. In China, our operation are quite solid. I have 7 offices. The whole group is around 100 long-term staff now working for me in different functions. And my next few years target or strategy, I don't want to growing business. A good company is not only marked by revenue. A good company is marked by technology, your operation, your vision, and your value to clients. Of course, margin is very important, but a lot of good companies with very high revenue, but their margin is very low. So from my side, risk control is most important. I want to keep IntelliS to be a boutique or very good reputation company in the industry. We have our own advantages and great values for my clients. Maybe we will not like a very big global company, but we have very specific strategy and great, marketing intelligence to clients.
And so you're 100% energy focused across many different aspects of energy, but particularly oil and gas and FLNG and FPSO and so on. Your strongest and your home, of course, is in China, but you're growing across the rest of ASEAN and into the Middle East. You have plans to go beyond that?
From my point of view, from the global map of potential that I need to build up my advantage is that the best idea is that link China's supply chain with global energy's growing projects. So the global energy projects, majority will come to in Africa, in South America, Middle East, and Asia. European and North America have a lot of projects there too, but I have no advantages to compete my competitors in that regions. But definitely like this region I mentioned, I could build a very good supply chain and also, values for my clients to provide the best service for them. So that is what I'm targeting to.
Yeah, exactly. I just wanted to check, Sabrina. You've said something that made me think about your advantage. So your advantage, is it because a lot of the shipyards are here and the fabrication yards are here, that therefore the big operators and shipbuilders, if they decide that they're going to get the yards here in China to do the work, then you follow that customer to wherever they are around the world, and that's how you do the work. Is that how the origin of this business started?
Especially for the global energy projects, actually it will not limit in one country. A lot of EPC contractors, they do engineering in India, they do engineering in KL, Malaysia, but they do a lot of modules like you mentioned, the shipbuilding and manufacturing in China. So it's a global service. But for Asia region, like Indonesia, Malaysia, China definitely is the blooming of the future, including Korea. So all the shipbuildings and the supply chains, all the EPC projects will be needed to cover this region. So our company can provide in all these regions a solution and complies the service for them.
Exactly. So you are, for companies around the world who need to have major energy-related services, fabrication work, supply chain work done in China, you're becoming the main contact person for them. And then you build teams and you build relationships, long-term relationships and teams both here in China and elsewhere now to manage those projects. That's right, isn't it?
True.
It's a very clever, it's a simple idea somehow, which is you're here and you know over these 17 years you've built very close relationships with the supply chain here and particularly the yards. But now you follow that relationship back to the EPCs and even the operators themselves, don't you? And you're building now very high-level senior relationships around the world, starting here from the shipyards. It's clever. Where did you get that idea from?
I learned from my clients because the clients actually are most important to all business. Actually, I talking to them every day, meeting them every day. I see what they want and what value I can bring to them. The company's strategy needs to build up according to the market and also the value can bring to clients. So I didn't figure out from day one. Before I only focus on China market.
So China developers and EPCs as well?
True.
Okay, so that's where it started. China for China, in China.
Now it's China for over the world.
China for all over the world, right, exactly. I know you've got various companies interested in trying to buy you. Why would you do that now? Because now suddenly the world market is open for you.
True.
Congratulations. Very exciting for you. So you've been working with EIC for the last 3 or 4 years, I guess, as a member and now as a global ambassador. So thank you for doing that. What do you think EIC does here to help you in your business?
Because IntelliS started a very small company in China and we didn't do too much global marketing or brandings before. EIC is a very good platform, for global companies to know IntelliS and know me. I think behind every business, the owner or the founder is a key person. If clients know more about me and my capability and my personality, they will trust my company and me. So EIC is a good platform for us to working in this region because you also focus on the energy industry and focus on the data intelligence and the marketing activity. This is actually exactly what I do for my company as well.
So it must be frustrating for you because firstly, you're running a brilliant business and making amazing connections around the world who need to make relationships in China to get their supply chains working. And yet some parts of the world are very cautious about China, about working in China, about trusting China. And that must be frustrating for you because these same countries that are saying, well, of course, we need you, but they're also saying, but we don't always trust China.
I think for all the countries or business is the same. You will frustrated by, when you get into the wrong person or not match the business, it will waste your time. I think it happens everywhere. Definitely in China, it's a little bit more challenge because of the different cultures, language, and different rules here. But from my point of view, or from my experience before, I think the most important is that, you need talking to the person with open heart. If once we build up the open heart and build up the trust, then business maybe will come later. I'm not a short-sighted, businesswoman want to make quick money. Actually, IntelliS is like one of another my baby. So I want to see the growing and the future of the business. Sometimes I bring or do some service for my clients. I cannot make money or margin, but it's fun for me. Do some service first, and in future when he needs me, he will come to me because the company culture actually is the owner's culture. As a businesswoman, I cannot influence any political policies. What I do is that I control the risk. I also providing the service or suggestion for my clients to control that part of risk as well. And from the past 2 years, you also could see that the world is already, we called it world village. In village, we were connected and do business anyhow, maybe through different ways, maybe while others are direct or indirect. And we cannot living without a business. American clients are my favorite. I love American, to be honest.
You do what you have to do to look after your customers. And let's face it, the customers need supply chains in China. We all know it. If you're enjoying this podcast and think you have an inspiring story to tell, contact me, Stuart Broadley, directly, as I would love to do a C-level podcast with you too. EIC is proud to be the UK's largest membership energy trade association and the 5th largest in the world. We are unique around the world for 3 reasons. We are truly energy agnostic, believing all energy technologies are vital to delivering energy security, affordability and a just transition. We are the only energy trade association anywhere in the world that offers a truly in-house one-stop shop for market intelligence, networks and events to help our members export, diversify and grow. And we are proud to be the voice of the energy supply chain, advocating for the 5 golden rules of a healthy energy supply chain. More details on EIC membership, the 5 golden rules, details about doing a future podcast with me, and how to contact us about anything else are in the description for this podcast. So, challenges. When you're growing, is it harder to grow for you inside China, or is it harder for you to grow into new countries outside China?
Inside China and outside China are both challenging. In China, we have a lot of competitors and, a global company, a local company. For overseas business, of course, we enter into new market. We are challenged by the local policies and the politicals and also the local competitors. So the business development, I think nothing is easy. What I do is I do lesson learn every day. Actually, my family, like my younger brother, he's very smart IT. So he's very good in logical. My father same. So for me also same. We try to keep a very logical thinking every day and we do mistake every day. But next day we can do better.
So as a Chinese company wanting to work now around the world, which are the best markets or countries to work with and why?
From my market survey in the past 2 to 3 years, I think Asia region is easier compared to Middle East or Europe because of the culture, networking, and also the language. I think all market is different. I have to be direct. Like Middle East is very challenging to do business. The market there is very big, but their entry, actually, the business entry is quite narrow because the power and resource are controlled only by very little people. And those bigger companies and big teams, sometimes they will change turns and the risk is quite high also of the geographical issues.
What you do is really good because you somehow provide a bridge. You provide some kind of cultural and language support both ways, don't you? And somehow you, as I've got to know you over the last 2 or 3 years, you provide enthusiasm and energy, personal energy. In fact, you invest a lot of your own personal energy into building these bridges of trust, don't you? Where does that come from? This sort of personal belief you have in professionalism and in friendship and in trust when there are so many challenges out there?
I think it's all about your personality. When I was very young baby girl, I already full of passions. I'm very disciplined for my whole life. And my parents are very strict to me when I was young. So I'm working very, very hard. You cannot imagine how Chinese kids in school are working hard. We're working from 7 to 11 every day. I never study overseas. So I'm a local Chinese growing up only in China. So when I was doing the international business, it's really challenging part is that you know the cultures and learn from other people, but personality and mind thinking are quite similar.
Now you're an award-winning leader here in China. You won the Wisdom and Finance Lady Award at the Zhejiang Chamber of Commerce. You won the Outstanding CEO of China Professional Manager, and you won the Zhejiang Outstanding Female Entrepreneur Award as well. What is it about your style and your approach that is getting noticed here?
I think that in China, if you need to do a very good business, you need to have very good connection with these chambers, government, and associations.
You were saying before we started this, we were doing preparation for this, that Zhejiang Chamber of Commerce, which is the province here, represents some of the biggest companies in China. And if you look at all of the value of all those companies, it's worth more than $1 trillion equivalent.
True.
So like a sort of medium-sized country. You work closely with the chamber.
Yes, true. Zhejiang Chamber, actually Zhejiang province is very famous in China. You don't know Zhejiang, but you will know Jack Ma, Alibaba. You will know DeepSeek. It has best e-commerce and AI. You know the 语数科技, the robots playing in China's television Spring Festivals, that it's all from Zhejiang. So the investors, private economy, economy, e-commerce, and high-tech, everything, Zhejiang is very famous in China because we are very smart and very developed province. And it's connected to Shanghai as well. Shanghai is a finance and global HQ for international companies, but Zhejiang has very smart people, so it's very important. And the GDP is really top 3 in China. So the worries of the GDP, like you mentioned, very big number. I do a lot of my professional expertise, like HR consulting for the companies in our group as well, in the chamber as well. And I also do a lot of charity projects with the members. That is very important. And also, leaders, like we sponsor a lot of poor kids, a school fee they cannot afford from West. China is a very big country. If you see the coastal cities, East, it's well developed. It's good. But West and North, we still have a lot of undeveloped cities and province. So Zhejiang, especially Yangtze River, we have the responsibility to develop the West and the North to make sure the whole country is growing.
You work closely with the Rotary Club, don't you? And you're also a mentor for startups. So tell us about that.
Yeah, Rotary, you know it, right? It's quite famous, an international charity organization. In China, it has a lot of associations, Rotary Club in China. But due to the policy, actually Chinese, I didn't holding any passport of other country, cannot be the official members. So I have been the honored member for Rotary, I think for 3 or 4 years. And later our club president nominated me to be the first official Rotary member of China region. So because of my contribution, I do a lot of projects, Rotary projects for different clubs, including Suzhou, Ningbo, Shanghai. We also founded one of our own club. We called the Middle Kingdom Club. Our club is very unique. It's an online club. Like, all the members globally can join in. So we do a lot of meetings online together, and we do a lot of charity projects together. So it's very fun because we have members from Germany, Italy, everywhere. But we all located in different cities. But we only share one thing, that is our goodwill for the world.
So your role, right, you're all about talent and people development and recruiting and, helping companies to develop teams. So you must see, also being in this province where AI is such a big part of the development of the economy here, how AI can be very disruptive in skills and talent and jobs.
True.
Are you seeing that happen already? Is that already impacting your business? Or are you seeing perhaps in 5 years' time it's going to completely change the nature of having a job?
Recently, I shared to all my best friends that I'm working on my PhD and my direction want to study AI, application in our industry. Actually, to be honest, from my personal view, I cannot live without AI now. I'm not an engineer, but with the assistance of AI, I set up the tools and know-how helping my work really improve the efficiency, and it brings great values for the work every day. And in China, the AI application is, from the old age people like above 80 and young kids like 8 or 7, like my younger son. Everyone study about it and using this kind of tools every day. It's really happening. It's already happening, and especially in the industry. I see that some simple jobs will be, will replaced. But anyhow, it depends how you see the point of view that the decision maker or thinker or creator in the industry can never be created. And also, especially for like offshore energy industry, it will take a much longer time because our industry actually very logical and need a lot of experience to verify it. AI cannot verify your job in the next few years. Some simple job, maybe like documents or some tools can be used, but it cannot replace the people. So I'm not so worried.
Not worried. Not even a little bit worried?
Not so much.
Okay. So obviously I'm British. I live in the UK. So let's talk a bit about the UK-China relationship. So the 5-year trend of bilateral trade between the two countries stands at about £100 billion average over the last 5 years, let's say. So pretty stable. And British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, of course, he was over in China in January 2026, meeting with obviously President Xi Jinping. And it seems like the relationships between the two countries are, I think it was described in the British press anyway, as a bit of a reset in relations between the two countries after a few years of slightly more strained ties. So I'm not really asking for any political view, but just it must be good from a business point of view to see some good examples of outcomes of that. And I'll give you an example, a very personal example, which is I previously asked you for a letter of recommendation to be able to get a visa to come into China, but I didn't need it because now I don't need a visa to come into China. I was actually panicking about it, Sabrina. I was like, even when I got on the plane and I was flying to Shanghai, I was like, is it really true that I don't need a visa? This feels so... I was a bit worried about it. But yeah, here we are. So there's really positive signs of, I think, very healthy, logical, improved relations. And I hope this continues and continues to grow from there. So from your side, what do you hope for in the future in terms of China's role in the world? Now, obviously, economically, it's an incredible country, culturally an incredible country. What do you hope for in the future?
From my point of view, I think China will play a more important roles, like you mentioned, globally, for the economy or the other things, or politically. I mean, China has no offense to be like, compete with other countries as well. We just wanted to build up our own advantage, our technology to do the business. That is the majority of Chinese people's thinking. We love peace and we want to play more important role. When you play more important role, you take more responsibilities. So globally, we want to, building up more good relationship with all the country globally. But, sometimes for the competition part, it's really difficult or challenging to balance how to make this happening. And our strategy or countries political are quite sustainable. You must have heard about our 5 years strategy plan. Now we already 15th 5 years strategy plan after New China, Republic of China build up. So a country with long-term strategy and view can do more sustainability strategy and bring more peace to the world. Chinese people actually love peace and they want to do more business. That is the real world from my heart of view.
Yes, and obviously one of the things that China has is an incredibly powerful supply chain focus and an ability to invest heavily around the world. What's your view on the energy industry going forward? Let's start in China. So that China is famous for many, many things in energy terms. So dominance in rare earth materials, solar panels, EVs. That's what makes the most offshore wind turbines, onshore wind turbines. And it's done it through incredible efficiency, focus on cost, focus on technology, focus on scale, and actually entrepreneurialism. And now, so it's growing around the world. And in the UK, fastest growing car brand in the UK are Chinese car brands now for EVs. But if we come back into China, there is also still a high reliance, for instance, on coal power generation. So do you think China is aiming to eradicate all hydrocarbons and to get to net zero?
For net zero goals, China already put many, many years efforts on this part, because if you see a structure of energy, China has, we didn't have too much oil gas, internally. So when a country make a strategy for the energy, structure, renewable, net zero, it is the things China can use our best advantage and the supply chain and our technology to build up the industry in a very short term. So all the countries, the government, the companies, they put a lot of efforts and fundings on the innovation on this part. That's why this industry, the renewables, the EVs, and the wind turbines, the industries, related industry are growing so fast in China. The whole country put all the policy and the energy in one basket and growing, make the industry growing to be a big tree. So I think the strategy is quite right. If you see the energy crisis now, China actually didn't affect it too much because we already thinking about this problem or the crisis many, many years ago. If you see our government policies and the reports, that is one thing we must do in China. That is reading the government policy carefully when they published for next 5 years, what they do, what the industry going growing.
Yeah, and just for those listening in who might not know much about what's in the 15th five-year plan, which is the 2026 to 2030 plan here. So it's areas like targeted foreign investment, future industries focus, support for manufacturing and quality, rebalancing towards consumption, green development, as we've been talking about, supply chain resilience, a regulatory environment, so a stronger regulatory environment, and the Belt and Road Initiative. So these are kind of key areas that continue to be a focus here in China. So yeah, I mean, I think what we're seeing around the world is net zero is an overused term. It doesn't mean so much as it used to, but at the end of the day, electrification does mean a lot more now. And I think China's taking the lead with that. And as you say, it doesn't have a lot of its own oil and gas, never has had. So it's always had to be an importer.
Are you an energy business looking to revisit your strategy? Did you know EIC's Consult team helped 50 businesses last year? How? We helped them with their strategic investment decisions using EIC's award-winning market intelligence and data to provide them with tailored, pragmatic BD strategies, presentations, and reports. It works. Our data and insights have helped customers to confirm their decisions to export, diversify, and grow. Contact us now to learn more about EIC Consult and begin your own journey to smarter decisions. Details in the description below.
Do you think that's what's driving this move towards electrification, is to strategically reduce as soon as possible reliance on imported oil and gas?
Yes, I think that really helps. So what you mentioned about if you see our report, the keynotes for the 15th five strategy, and also from my personal views that we also transforming our economy. If you see the fast growing years is the last 30 years. When I was 3 or 4, my father bought a first colorful TV from Japan. The whole village people come to my house to watch the TV. I mean, not so that long ago. I'm still young, but only around 35 years past. Now, if you see the manufacturing in China, it's really amazing. So when a country passed the most fast developing period, they need to rethink or restructure their strategy. So we are transforming economy from the raw, fast development to be a high-tech and AI and compliance driving models, different ways to develop the whole country. I think that is quite a similar thinking or strategy for company and a country. So before, a lot of friends in China, they will ask me, Sabrina, what's the investment you do? You buy a lot of properties? I think 10 years ago or 5 years ago, a lot of people still putting that thinking, or they want to make rich because they buy or sell properties in China. But now if you see that industry is really controlled by the government, it's easy money, easy industry, and make sure that the hot money don't go to the construction or real estate, because we want to develop the country into a really influence a global top country, that we need to have really something, can influence or compete the other of the world. So we are transforming the economy from a rough, fast development period into a tech-driving, high-driving, and compliance driving period.
I think it would be interesting to see what the next 5 years brings then. And as we sort of come to wrap up here, I've just got a few final questions for you. It's fascinating talking to you. It always is. And I love your just absolute straight talking about, how to approach the role of China, the role of, trade, the role of relationships and trust, your personal energy and commitment to, trying to grow your business. It sort of feels like, and trying to, help, therefore, China grow as well in your own small way. So I ask you now a bit more of a personal question about EIC. So you're a global ambassador, which means you're one of our people that's the biggest supporter and advocate for the work we do, which we greatly appreciate and thank you for. So EIC now is also interested in moving a little bit more into China and perhaps setting up an office here and perhaps doing more events here. What advice would you give us? So you're used to giving advice all the time to companies. What advice would you give me around how to do this?
China is a big market for EIC. If you without this country in your map, actually, I think EIC is not the top one. But with this country, you will be top one in the industry. Entering into this market is quite interesting as well, because the market warring, you will see that really huge here. What I can bring some good suggestion or advice for EIC is that how to do the right marketing, how to do the right strategy, how to, make special products for this market, and how to bring values for this market clients. That is, what I I can do for EIC.
And that's a little bit of an insight into any other companies that are listening, thinking, I also want to get to know how to work successfully in China. And this is how you approach it, isn't it? You take a very specific, more direct, honest view about this is what you have to do. You need to be here, but then you need to do it in a way which brings something special to this market.
True. I think in every market, you should do the same because you need to understand, your competitor and the market and how to build up your specific advantages.
But it's not easy here, is it, also? I mean, what's the hardest thing a company that decides to come into China for the first time? What would be the hardest challenge they would have to overcome?
I think a lot of companies come to China is that when they are making strategy, especially those decision makers, they never really understanding the real China business culture is quite a challenge. Because from my see that a lot of international companies, the decision maker are in their own country and they really don't understand China's business market. And when they make a strategy from very far away, but the market here is different and the people here who cannot smart enough to helping you, give you the right or immediate, suggestions to correct the wrong things, it will be very challenging to successful in this market. I make a very small example. Luckin Coffee, right? Luckin Coffee. Starbucks is huge, a global, very successful business. But Luckin Coffee is a Chinese branding, not only the pricing. I think why Luckin Coffee is successful is because the decision makers and the management is here. Their brain is here with the clients, with the market. They do the right things very short term. But if your global organization, your decision maker is very far away and local, you don't have good people or good advisor or good company or partner can providing you, the right strategy or immediate information, then you will miss the market opportunity. And for business, timing is very important.
So, and most important of that advice you just given, which I think is true in many markets, but I think your point is none more so than here in China, is you need to be in China, run by Chinese people who understand and are part of this business and are making decisions now, not for the very long term.
I think that's very important. That's my point of view, because the market is changing every time, and if the people don't understand the market, it's very challenging to be successful.
Two more questions. There's been a recent example where big Chinese offshore wind turbine manufacturer Mingyang was very committed to investing in a facility in Scotland. And in the end, the British government, after a long time of being unclear, let's say, in terms of are they going to approve it or not, they finally decided not to approve it. So have you had any feedback about kind of how disappointing that was in China? Because in the UK also, I think for many, that was a disappointing decision. So what was the feeling in China about that?
Of course, it's a very bad feeling. We think UK has good advantages in the past decades of years. But now you are a little bit more close to, not so open to or brief to running show around the world, the competition. I think that's not a good sign, because if you are really confident and powerful in running the industry business, you don't need to afraid for your competitor to enter into your market. And if you switch thinking that actually this competitor also bring you some values as well, you need thinking about how to work in them or manage them, not stop them into the market, because they cannot stop anyhow in the future, because they will find different ways to enter into the market, like agent, a partner, or joint venture. It's also a lot of ways. But what you can learn is that, how they build up their technology and advantage. So, that's my point of view.
So, but I think, it's a big decision, isn't it? To say we're going to be protectionist and not to be open to, a Chinese player. So what is the Chinese opinion of why that decision was made, do you think? What's being talked about in the media, about it?
I think the feedback from media is that is all about the, more political. Because British China, like you mentioned, we didn't be friends for many years, and now we just restarted. So maybe for next few years, it will be much easier, because now we rebuild up the relationship again.
Do you think this won't spoil the small bits of progress already that's being made? I will not need a visa again next time I come. I hope so. It's so lovely to come here without a visa. Okay, Sabrina, thank you so much. This has been a lot of fun. And as ever, you're always kind of giving me lots of ideas and things to think about and very honest and open. So my last question is about the future. So the future for IntelliS and the future for you, what does it hold? What are your dreams for the business?
Actually, before, my dream was balance my life and work. I want to make sure that I have a lot of time to take care of my young kids. So I keep a small worrying of my business to control the risk so I can enjoy my life and having some business. But, most of my time are with my kids. But now my kids are growing. Actually, for next 10 years, I can see that I have good capabilities to building the company to be an amazing one. So definitely, I will build IntelliS to be a very successful business. But successful not means that we had the best revenue in the industry. But anyhow, I can build up the company to be a very trustable and amazing and very unique company in the industry, can working around with the best company, providing the values for my clients. I think that's a very interesting thing, make it successful.
And successful where?
Globally.
Globally?
Yes.
Okay. And if you were to give me a sort of a scale size, are you hoping to double in 10 years or grow by a factor of 5 in 10 years? What do you think is possible for your business?
For my business, I think 10 times is like, very easy.
10 times is easy.
Easy, true.
It's not easy for most companies.
Yes. For my business, it's a little bit different. We are like, consulting and service. If you only focus on one region and you get some very big projects and big opportunities, you can grow in the business in a very short term. So just you need to do the right management and the right risk control and right strategy. So I think it could happen. I don't say that it will be happen, but it could be happen.
10 times in 10 years?
Yes.
Okay, this would be fun. I look forward to that. And of course, I look forward to continuing to work with you as EIC starts to make small steps into China. And your support is always greatly appreciated. And thank you for being, again, a global ambassador to support our members as you do so well. Sabrina, thank you very much. Lovely to see you. All the best.
Thank you, Mr. Stuart.
Well, that's our show for today. A huge shout out to Samara, Lucas and Joao and the rest of our incredible team behind the scenes. This show truly wouldn't happen without them. If you enjoyed this podcast, it would mean the world if you'd hit that follow button. Give a 5-star rating or leave a review. It's the best way to help us keep doing what we love. And as a thank you, I'll leave you with my favourite 5-word joke. Love wind power. Big fan.